Beyond simply squeezing our suppliers for more discounts, though, we have to look at the way we manage our company. Those suppliers can give us discounts upwards of 24%, but that still won't get us to the 40% expected for this project. The way National Life and Casualty currently does business has to come under the microscope completely. For example, we may have a representative working in the Northern Nevada offices in Reno and a client who's based in the Northern California region in Truckee. Unfortunately, the representatives for that Northern California region are in Sacramento, upwards of 3 hours away from Truckee, whereas the Reno office is only 30 minutes away, but unfortunately in a different region. Should we really be sending someone all the way from Sacramento versus Reno simply because it's within their region? We have to start looking at how we assign people to the customers and vice versa. That's just one area. In addition, we also have to look at what we're booking. When we're booking flights, we can save a significant amount, up to 24%, simply by booking in advance. Obviously, emergencies don't always give us advance notice, but we can start using advance booking whenever it becomes available to start capturing those savings. There's also an issue that's a little bit contentious in the business world, and it's room sharing. Room sharing has been shown to save up to 50% of hotel costs, which I'd like to remind you are $28 million roughly in our case. Room sharing has its opponents, but it also has its fans. Many people cite increased camaraderie, as well as better workplace understanding of each other. While it may not suit for everyone, especially in cases where we have a single representative being flown out, it can save us a significant amount of money, and that should not be overlooked. It may not be the best for every situation or for every person. We have to allow for disability and for certain circumstances which could come up, but we shouldn't let that go. Beyond travel management companies, we also have to look at corporate credit cards. With a corporate credit card in everyone's pocket, this is a toolkit that allows us to evaluate very closely their expenses. Not to say that we're going to put a microscope to each individual, but we can start looking at patterns of spending and behavior. We can start seeing maybe one office has a policy of spending more on dinners than another one, and that goes back to setting policy. Once we look at where the expenditures are, we can start setting more policy that gives better guidance to our people so they know how to conduct business in a way that works for National Life and Casualty and expands our business and our profits. I think everyone can be on board with that one. As far as a policy this big, we have to also look at how we're going to measure success. The most simple way, initially, is to start looking at how much we spend month to month versus how much we were spending before the policy was initiated. Money talks, and in this case it speaks pretty loudly, at least $28 million a year loudly, I hope. We also have stakeholders to consider. The main stakeholders are the regional offices as well as obviously senior management. Though I'd like to also include anyone who works for the company as at least a stakeholder in some sense. It's our job to make their jobs easier. So if we can provide a better managed travel system and policy that tells them exactly how they should be able to do this, we can make their jobs significantly easier and make National Life and Casualty a more efficient company. In terms of governance, National Life and Casualty actually needs to really step up and establish a single travel management office within the Calabasas headquarters. To that end, I suggest we recruit someone who's got significant experience and a depth of knowledge in the field of travel management. There are quite a few people out there, and National Life and Casualty should start looking immediately. To implement this policy, we have to break it up into 5 distinct phases. I think the first phase, most naturally, is to simply set up the team. We can call them a Travel Management Program Team, or the TMP. The Travel Management Program Team can come from all regional offices as well as representatives from some of the sales and service offices and senior management. So they can see this problem from all levels and from a different regional perspective. Once the team is in place, they can start looking at policy as well as coordinating with senior management to make sure that policy is on board with senior management goals. After they've set up the team and started working together, they should start talking to vendors and submitting RFPs. Start getting vendors on board with them so that we can all start working together to build a solid travel management policy for National Life and Casualty. Once the policy development is begun, then it's time to start a limited rollout of the system. Online booking and implementing phases of the phases of the travel management policy as it becomes available. I suggest we start initially with the Calabasas office, as it's both the regional headquarters and the company headquarters. This will give us the ability to look closely at it and see exactly how the program is rolling out. After a few months of rollout within the Calabasas headquarters, I suggest we start moving it to other regional offices and then down to the sales and service offices around the country, with training teams expanding to show people the ropes, and people on the travel management team available back at headquarters to answer emails and phone calls, just to at least let them know someone's listening when they're upset, or to give them guidance when they get a bit lost. During this time, the travel management program team should be working with management throughout, reporting, and it should also be noted, conducting as many virtual meetings as possible. Since they're trying to save on travel, conducting virtual meetings when they're available is a good policy. It's airfare and hotel rooms we don't have to pay for. After the limited rollout, then it goes company-wide. We start getting everyone involved. Those who are not yet experienced with it can turn to the people who have already been integrated into the program for guidance as well. And finally, the last phase will be winding down. The travel management team can start evaluating what happened, how the rollout went, where savings have gone, where savings have come up, and where there have been sticking points. They can submit their final report to senior management, and then disband and return to their normal positions. I anticipate the entire program taking approximately 6 months, and based on I believe fairly reasonable budgeting, can be done just shy of $4 million at 3.75 million. While that is a fairly costly program to be sure, when you consider that this should be on track to save 28,030,000 in the first year, it seems like a small price to pay. At that rate, the program pays for itself within the first 51 days of full implementation, and that's a pretty rapid return on investment by any measure. All in all, this is not going to be an easy transition for the company. There are going to be roadblocks. There are going to be issues that come up. But I think that by taking a multi-tiered approach to this, we can save the 40%, and far easier than companies normally can save that much money. Also, it keeps National Life and Casualty competitive. The insurance industry is a tough industry. Other other insurance companies are out there trying to trim costs as well. National Life and Casualty has to be able to stay efficient and stay reasonable to its customers. And for that, we have to have this program. Thank you very much.